The song is just always so beautiful. Sorry, I like to let it play a little bit before I get started sometimes. Now we ended off with Rofi's dream. Well, I think he was remembering his father in a dream and like some life choices he had and his father didn't agree with, but he wanted to go a certain way and like, you know, that sort of thing. But we're waking up as ourselves. So we may have experienced Rofi's dream, but we are waking up as ourselves. All right, we are back where we left off. I'm very excited to continue this story here today. Sorry, it's been a little bit of time because the last one I did was just before I did my streams for this month, but I'm trying to squeeze this in alongside my streams. My streams are taking up a lot of time, but I am going to be continuing this. And it's also kind of nice to like not do it too quickly because we only have limited content until they release more. And it's been a while since they released this, so let's just dive right back in. I believe we are waking up as ourselves from Rofi's dream, which is a little bit confusing, but I think I understand. I wake up, not with a jolt, but with a slow, halting shift. My filmy eyes crackling open, the shadowed structure of Rofi's room forming once again around me. No broken glass, no blood, just a stiff and choking silence. And the faintest hint of smoke. My injured paw tingles slightly. I raise a paw to my face and rub my eyes, only then realizing how damp my cheek fur is. My paws meet the mattress, sheets just lightly stained with tears, probably mine. A sense of gentle dread pulls me back under the covers, but I resist. It's still dark outside. I shuffle about for my phone, my joints popping and crackling softly. Not quite 5 a.m. I shiver, suddenly racked by chills. Rofi must have moved while we slept. He lays now with his back to me, fuzzy shoulders rising and falling rhythmically. Last night, I would have pressed myself against him, arms encircling his torso, cradling his warmth next to mine. Now, I am hesitant to strike another match. Still so frightened, even after all these years. That's interesting. I thought he's talking about Rofi, but so the 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 main character had this dream and he's talking about striking another match? So was he dreaming about Rofi? Or was that Rofi's dream? Still so frightened, even after all these years. The timid animal inside me triumphs, just like it always does. I rise silently, with only the slightest rustle of sheets, and gather up my things. I slip my jacket over my bare arms, cold comfort and a poor replacement, but safe, endlessly safe. A poor replacement. I look back one last time before I slip into the hallway. The gentle rise and fall of Rofi's shoulders seem to have stopped. Is he awake? Awake and holding his breath? Waiting to see what I'll do? I cross the threshold and I shut the door with as quiet a click as I can manage. There'll be no more sleep for me tonight, so that means it's time for coffee. I pad down the stairs, heading for the kitchen. I can hear the wind howling insistently outside. The windows are all covered, and the snow seemed to have picked up since yesterday. As I approach the kitchen, I notice the lights are on. Someone else must be awake already, too. I weigh the odds of seeing someone else against getting my coffee, and the coffee wins out. It's Theo, sitting in his usual spot. The fox is tapping aggressively at his phone, eyebrows furrowed, a full mug getting cold in front of him. His eyes flick up at me in a brief hello before falling back to his screen. That's not like him. Something must be up. I was kind of planning on getting my coffee and leaving, but I should probably see what's troubling him. Morning, Theo. Everything all right? Hmm. He continues hammering at the screen, offering nothing further. Though his voice, what little I heard of it, is flat and controlled, his entire body is tense, like a rubber band pulled taut. I can't quite place whether this is lingering stress from yesterday or the result of some new crisis. Or maybe this is what he's usually like, and the cheerful veneer I've grown used to has been a facade. Maybe a mix of all three. I make my way slowly over to the coffee machine. I find myself almost tiptoeing, not wanting to disturb whatever he's doing. The gurgling coffee pot seems to take days to fill. Finally, with a steaming mug in hand, I settle down in what has become my seat. We sit quietly for some time. I sip my coffee. He ignores his. Right when I decide to break the silence, he speaks, his voice hard and flinty. I have to struggle to keep myself from flinching. I think Diana, the old ewe in number 27, is still in her apartment. Oh, the table falls silent again, save for Theo's frenzied tapping. Are you talking to her now? No. If she even has a cell phone, it'd be dead by now. I'm talking to the effing Robinsons in number 30. The venom in his voice surprises me. It jumps out only for an instant before he tucks it neatly away again. Are they? Across the street from her, yes. Another long moment of silence. Theo breaks it by setting his phone firmly down on the table, face down. He looks right into my eyes, and suddenly I see the barely contained fury, the panic, the seemingly mere moments from breaking loose. They won't agree to let her stay with them. That woman is almost 90 years old. She is teeny and rail thin. If she stays in that house much longer, it's gonna kill her. Well, I try to keep my voice from shaking. I know his anger isn't directed at me, but I feel flattened by it all the same. Maybe we pay her a visit and see if she's all right? She's not. I went over there earlier today and banged on the door and all the windows until she answered. She said she wasn't leaving the house until she knew she had somewhere else to go. Only now do I notice the coat draped over the back of his chair, the melted snow still clinging to his fur in patches. How long has he been awake? When I don't immediately reply, he snatches up his phone again and resumes tapping with a renewed ferocity. Think, Brandon, you've got to say something. I don't know if you've already done this, but you could call the Robinsons. Like, instead of texting, maybe hearing your. Phil shakes his head jerkily, no longer able to contain the anger in his voice. If I do that, I won't be able to stop myself from yelling at them. I believe him. From his expression, it feels like he's about to yell at me instead. Well, maybe they need to be yelled at? A little bit? Maybe they deserve it? No. The volume of his voice rises and the tone sharpening to a lethal point. I know Tom Robinson. I know what kind of person he is. That would only make him double down. In fact, that's exactly what he's waiting for. The moment I start shouting at him, he'll take it as proof as he was right all along. Theo begins to tap his foot loudly on the floor with such force that the table begins to shiver slightly. I rack my brain, trying to think of something else to suggest. I want to help, but I don't want to make him any more upset. Well, what if we brought her here? I mean, I don't want to invite people to your house without your permission, but Theo raises a paw and cuts me off sharply. Oh, honestly, with that face, he's got me scared. Like, I don't want to be looked at like that. You don't understand. I physically shrink into my chair. eyes dropping deep into the steaming coffee. Even on her best day, I'm not sure if we could get her up off the street. Not with this much snow. And she's been sitting there in that stupid house for 3 days. He's shouting now. The Robinsons live across the goddamn street. Given her condition, it would be a miracle if we can get her there. And they won't open the door. On the last word, he slams the table with a paw, and some lukewarm coffee splashes out of the forgotten mug. The room is very silent now. The kind of silence that only makes itself known after a shattering noise. Theo's gaze shifts down to his brown splattered paw. His expression curdles into a mix of emotions I can't quite place. I worry if I open my mouth, even to breathe, I might cry. But I have to say something. Theo, why don't you let me talk to them? His voice almost makes me jump. A torrent of guilt spikes through me, though I'm not fully sure why. Rofi stands there in the doorway to the kitchen, tucked up again in his red sweater, fur messed up and spiky from sleep. Persuasion is one of the first things you learn working in the emergency department. Serious Rofi is back in full force, face in thin, tight lines, eyes full of calculations. And if they hear the same thing from multiple neighbors, it might convince them. I turn back to Theo, holding my breath. I finally find my voice. You look like you've been worrying all night about this. Let us take care of things from here, okay? Theo, you're clearly exhausted. We will let you know as soon as we have a plan, okay? We're gonna get her out of there, I promise. The moment that passes is one of the longest and quietest of my life. Okay. The words come out as a sigh, some of the tension escaping along with his breath. I will leave it to you two. He slides the phone across the table towards me, touching it gingerly, as if it were a mildly dangerous animal. We'll keep you updated, Theo. Please, take a moment to rest. The fox nods once, and his head towards the door, swaying slightly. He stops briefly in the doorframe and turns back to us, eyes not quite meeting ours. The code is 061710. Thanks, you two. I really appreciate this. And then he's gone, and it's just me and Rofi in the kitchen. I find myself avoiding his gaze and pondering a familiar question. Are you mad at me? Guess we can't just have a quiet morning around here, huh? No, apparently not. His voice is soft and welcoming. It's rough from sleep. I figured you might be down here getting water or something. But then I heard Theo from the stairwell. Yeah, I was planning on getting some coffee and coming back up, but... Was I? Is that true? But duty calls, right? Right. I can feel his eyes searching me, assessing my condition. I can do most of the talking, if you like. I would appreciate that. Honestly, my nerves were still frayed from the dream, and Theo's outburst certainly hadn't helped. Rofi finds the text conversation with the Robinsons and hits the call button. He puts it on speaker and sets the phone back down on the table. It rings and rings until they finally answer. Yes, a gruff male voice, halfway too angry already. Good morning, sir. This is Rofi and Brandon, two of your neighbors, calling from Theo's phone. Rofi's voice is clean, clipped, and professional. He clearly has done this many times. I know you and Theo have been in touch regarding the woman in number 27? He waits for a response. We have, yes. Grudging, non-committal, approaching, annoyed. Excellent. I hope you'll pardon my interrupting your text conversation, but as a trained emergency responder at our local ED, I thought I'd step in and give my opinion. A physician assistant's opinion. He lets the last few sentences hang in the air for just a moment before continuing. As I'm sure you're aware, the temperature outside is well below freezing, even without a wind chill. Number 27 has been without electricity for 3 days now. Realistically, the temperature inside that apartment is likely to approach the temperature outside. The woman inside is at risk for hyperthermia and frostbite, at the very least. At worst, she may not survive another day. With all of this in mind, I would like to ask you a favor. Would you be willing to let her stay with you for a few days, until the power comes back on? Static. I understand that Theo's already asked you this favor, but I felt it might help to hear it again from a medical professional. He stresses the last two words, arms now crossed tightly over his chest. Is she really as bad as all of that? Annoyance again, tingled with what could be concern. Rofi rolls his eyes sharply, but his voice remains steady. Yes, sir. I'm afraid so. I've performed many death exams in the emergency department, and I would prefer not to have to do that if we check in on her tomorrow, and she's still at her place. Think of Rofi leaning over her stiff, frozen body, still propped upright in a chair. My stomach drops out from under me. The thought of Rofi touching a corpse feels somehow wrong. Something so warm and something so terribly cold? Not to mention the possible legal fallout between her family and any individuals involved. We see a lot of that in the ER too. Legal battles that extend months on end, even if one party is clearly in the right. More staticky silence. Well, alright, if you really think it's necessary. The most reluctant acceptance I've ever heard in my life. My wife hasn't had time to tidy up, so... Oh, that's quite alright, sir. Rofi cuts him off and begins rattling off a list. As long as there's somewhere comfortable for her to sit, and some blankets to wrap herself in, I'm sure she'll be cold. Perhaps a warm drink? If you have a fireplace and it isn't already on, I suggest lighting it. Well, hold on now. We'll start preparing to head over to number 27 right now. I'll be in touch with you if you need anything else. Please do remember that the time is of the essence here. Well, at least tell me when you're expecting to bring her over. Like I just said, sir, we'll be there as soon as possible, likely within the hour. Please do your best to be ready for us. Now, before I hang up, do you have any other questions regarding the preparations for her care? Well, no, I suppose not. Alright, good. We'll see you soon, sir. Thank you. Rofi hangs up the call and with a decisive motion and sighs deeply, rubbing his eyes with both paws. Wow. Rofi, that was seriously impressive. He laughs a bit wearily without uncovering his eyes. Practice. Alright, we'd better start getting ready. Right. I take one last fortifying swig of my coffee and stand. I think I'll start waking the others. We might need all the hands on deck for this one. Sounds like a plan. I'll go update Theo. Great. Grab your warmest clothes and we'll meet at the front door in 5. I nod and walk briskly back to the living room. I'm gonna be honest, I still don't understand. So wait, was that the main character having a dream of Rofi thinking about stuff? Because I could have swore that was Rofi's dream, and then it's got me a little bit confused on that, but I don't know. Maybe there was maybe a misclick on a word, but it's probably right, and I'm missing something. But let me know what you guys think about the dream or not. If it's like Rofi's dream or if it's his dream. Because I know who I woke up as, and then at first I'm like, wait, did I wake up as Rofi when he stepped in down the stairs? But then I realized that wasn't it. And then I'm a little bit confused on that, just a teeny bit, but that's not really a big thing to be confused on. That's not game breaking or anything, but yeah, I was just thinking of that. I didn't know. Anyways, that's all the time I have for today, or for this episode. We'll be continuing this shortly. It is my stream month, so these are going to be a little bit slow just because it ended up being on my stream month. But, that kind of makes it nice because it's only this chapter, and I'm assuming once we get her back, we come back and the night ends. That might be the end of this chapter, and we have to wait for more development from the developers. And so it might be a while before we continue at any point, but eventually we'll have the whole story here. And I'm thinking once we do get Rofi's story, at the end, I mean, I could go do the other, like, because you can choose paths in this game, and you can choose to like choose different characters at certain points, and it gives you a different path. I really am just wanted to be. I just want to be invested into Rofi's story with this one. But maybe I don't know if I want to do it or not. We could go back and try another story, and then like I could just set like a secondary playlist that like starts at at a certain point, because I know it's at a certain point that things cut off. So I don't really need to go back all the way if I for certain characters if I'm gonna do like Theo. But there's other ones where like I should back up a ways for it. But I think choosing Rofi is like choosing the main storyline, and the other characters are side characters. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. Anyways, but I love this story. I will see you guys when we continue the next one. Adios, amigos. I wake up. I wake up. Way more. That was way more than I thought. Help. Oh, help. That was way more than I thought. Oh, I thought it was just a little taste. Oh, I thought it was just a little taste. Oh boy. I misjudged the size of that cup. Oh, oh boy. Whew. Even though I haven't read yet this part for this video, we're gonna. I'm just gonna save this little accident for like after the credits. Oh boy, I wasn't expecting that. Ah. Whew. I just wanted to try a little sip of this because I hadn't had it in a while, and I thought I just put a little bit in that cup. I miscalculated horribly. That was uh, and it didn't even taste good anymore because it sat there too long. It's old, and I went for it. Oh, okay. Let's read this. That's probably gonna put me. All right. I'm getting started, but this probably just ended for you, so I hope you guys have a beautiful night. We'll continue again. But yeah, okay. Whew.